Very interesting story on how I got into Web3. So in Swiggy, I was working on the DevOps system engineering side of things. And I remember there was Circle CI who had posted a blog about some things around the CI/CD pipeline. And I just, in the comment section, I just pointed out the correction in their blog. And Tomash reached out to me. So Tomash was the founder and CEO of Nethermind. So that's how Griffy was born, where we thought, people can hold opinions as their financial portfolio. So the goal for us is to become a Nasdaq of opinions. You could hold a portfolio of, uh, will Taylor Swift get married by end of April? And every time your prediction is right, uh, you win some reward, right? So if you look at the history of prediction markets, right, most prediction markets actually died / didn't do very well because of two reasons. One is liquidity, and the other is essentially the lack of strong regulatory, like strong focus on being compliant. I think we've solved both to a certain degree.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Crypto Show by CoinsCapture. Today we have Swaraj from Griffy. Welcome, Swaraj.
Thanks, Malcolm.
So I think we have been connected since long, and we have been in Web3. We know each other. So a basic introduction about it, like how you started, how is your channel?
Sure. So I'm Swaraj. I essentially started coding when I was like 11 years old. Started freelancing when I was 13. From the freelancing gig, made some money and put all of them into Ripple and BTC in 2016, 17, 18. Now, the good part was that all these tokens were pumping in 2018, but the bad part was the Indian government, the RBI specifically said no to crypto. And that's when, we saw folks who we would call mentors fight it out with the regulators. Looking at that, I was a college kid back then, so thought it's better to stay away from the industry. Did exactly that. Did two startups meanwhile. One was called Get It Ventures, which is gamified career counseling for kids. We won a lot of awards from the IT Minister of India. We worked with NCI, we worked with IMEI, etc. But then, because all of the team was from engineering backgrounds and we didn't really have someone from a psychology background, the customers didn't really trust us as much. Machine learning also needs a lot of input from traditional folks. So decided to stop that startup, did another startup in the meanwhile. It is called Habitants, where you click a photograph of your child and the child becomes a cartoon character in a storybook. So this app went viral. We got like 100,000 users with practically no spend on marketing. And machine learning used to be super expensive back in the day. So it was just me on the tech team with a bunch of friends helping me out. And it was scaling a bit too fast and I didn't know how to manage that scale. So that's when I talked with few mentors for help. And meanwhile, I just got a chance to talk with Dale, who was earlier the head of Amazon in India, and then had just joined Swiggy as the head of engineering, later became the CTO. So Dale said that, it takes a lot of things to scale, and you should definitely learn those things. So I joined Swiggy, worked at Swiggy for a year. Post that, there's a very interesting story on how I got into Web3. So in Swiggy, I was working on the DevOps system engineering side of things. And I remember there was Circle CI who had posted a blog about some things around the CI/CD pipeline. And I just, in the comment section, I just pointed out the correction in their blog. And Tomash reached out to me. So Tomash was the founder and CEO of Nethermind. So first thing that I saw in my LinkedIn message was Tomash, DeFi, ETH, and some other thing. And I thought he's a scammer. The first thing I was thinking that the guy is a scammer and he'll ask me to buy BTC from him because we had seen the same things happen in 2016, 17. Then he decided, he said that why don't you just have a chat with us? We're looking for hiring DevOps, etc. Then I thought, oh, why would a scammer ask me for giving a job interview? And then that's when I looked at his profiles. He was VP of Citibank and so on and so forth. I thought, okay, this is a genuine person. Did a couple of interviews with Tomash and then with Mataush and got into Nethermind. So I was, I think, the 20th employee at Nethermind. I was with Nethermind for quite some time. We scaled it up from 20 to around 200 to 50. I was looking after infra at Nethermind, looking after a few data products that we were creating. Uh, as towards the end of my tenure at Nethermind, we also did a joint venture with Alan Howard's family office. It's called Twin Stake for crypto staking as a service. That venture is also pretty successful today. And then after my time at Nethermind, I worked with Web3 where I was again doing infra and protocol. And Web3 is like, for those of you who don't know Web3 Web3 is like one of the largest wallet infra providers in the world. In Web3 so I think now we do infinite number of users per second. So I was in the team that was involved in revamping the entire protocol there. So yeah, that's been my journey so far. And now with building Griffy, it is I think more than 7-8 months now.
You also build communities, if I'm not wrong. Bang that.
Yes. So in 2021, that's when the world was just coming out of COVID. I was probably the only guy that I knew in India who was looking crypto. And as a part of Netherlands, we knew that we wanted to hire heavily from India because that's where, the talent lies today in the entire world. I was just thinking what's the best way to do it, and thought community is definitely the best one. The world was just coming out of COVID. I mean, it was still not out of COVID because there was still wave 2 and wave 3 coming up. But then we started doing small meetups. So I remember I did the first meetup in Pune, which was, we just sent out a message. There will be no alcohol, no snacks, nothing whatsoever. It will just be a few coming and brainstorming on things together. We did our first meetup. It was successful. We did the next. And in the next meetup, I think there was a guy who came in from Mumbai to Pune, which is like a 4-hour drive. And I was just wondering, Mumbai is a much larger city than Pune, and why are people coming here? But then we realized that, people are hungry for knowledge, and most of these meetups, there would only be alcohol parties. So then in the next meetup, like the meetup after that, we got a guy who came in from Goa, and the meetup after that, we got a guy who came in from Gujarat. That's what made me think, that people are hungry for knowledge, but they don't have enough avenues to learn things. They don't have a community that supports them to do this. That's when we decided to form this small community called Hello Web3. We did meetups in Pune, in Bangalore, in Ahmedabad, Chennai, several places. I think at one point we had 6 meetups in 6 different cities. And none of them would even serve you free coffee. I mean, even the coffee would be free because the goal was never to, give free food. The goal was never to commercialize this. It was only to create a lot of builders. And I think we succeeded to a certain degree. And then we saw commercialization of the communities and Web3 happen. And we thought, oh, this is not meant for us. We are product builders. We want to stick to that. So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I think we also met at your Mumbai meetup. I think we were
Yeah, we didn't do that.
Yeah.
We were WTC.
Yeah,
sorry, we were BTC.
Yeah, correct. Okay, then I think let's start with the podcast. And before that, like about getting about Griffy, let's discuss about like how these things work. So there are traditional trading platforms, and then you have started the thing called a skill-based trading platforms. How it differs, and what are the differentiations?
Correct. So like everybody in the world wants to make money in some way or the other, right? I think that's why humans live, and that's probably one reason why humans die in urge of making money. So now today, if you look at a country like India, there are very limited avenues where you can make money other than your job/business, right? And most of the times people are forced to trade stock or cryptos. And cryptos today, unfortunately, trading cryptos is not that seamless as trading stocks is. So very likely a person who might be an expert at politics or might be an expert in, weather forecasting would have to be forced to learn stock market, etc., to make money. So we thought, what's the difference over here, right? It's a skill, and you are allowed to trade on a skill. So we surveyed around 5,000 users, 500 of them in person, and around 82% of them actually said that they wanted a platform where they could trade anything, like absolutely any asset, absolutely any domain, they should be able to trade. So that's how Griffy was born, where we thought, people can hold opinions as their financial portfolio. So the goal for us is to become a Nasdaq of opinions. You could hold a portfolio of, uh, will Taylor Swift get married by end of April, and every time your prediction is right, uh, you win some reward, right? So that's how it works. And of course, a price point becomes the discovery. So because globally, for you to say that something is true or false, you'll have to put something behind it. So in a platform like Twitter, you would most likely put your reputation. But we now all know that most people don't really care about reputation. So then the second best thing to do would be to put money behind it, because in a world which is moving towards near universal income, money becomes like the ultimate price discovery tool.
So are there any metrics or any algorithms for it, or how does it work?
So we are a simple order matching setup. So we are very similar to an exchange, right? So on our platform, we have polls like who do you think will be the leader in market cap in the crypto world by end of 2024, ETH or BTC, right? Now it all starts at, let's say, XYZ odds. Let's say it starts at 5 is to 95 odds, 5 for ETH and 95 for BTC. Now, as more and more people start putting money on one side, the odds on the other side change, right? And it works in a way that the platform assumes zero risk. So every time someone votes on ETH, there has to be someone who votes on counter opposite odds on BTC. So then the two orders get matched and get executed. Very, very similar to that of a crypto exchange or a stock exchange for that matter. So yeah, that's exactly how it is.
Yeah, so it's basically like an order book, but on chip.
It's order on chain.
It's on chip. So how does on-chain polls work, and what does how it is backed with and what it is?
So now the way it works is a poll is created. A poll is created by only my team right now, and the reason for that is purely legal, because we don't want polls which are unnecessarily legal hassle to come onto the platform just yet. We will do that eventually, but for now it's just my team who puts up the poll. The moment the poll is put up, we create a smart contract which accepts votes. Now anybody who votes in on any side, the receipt of that goes on the smart contract, and the order is also matched on the smart contract. Once the poll expires, we have automatic triggers. So there's this product called Gelato Network, which we're looking to integrate, which will continuously poll the smart contract to see if there is a result, there is an outcome. Once there is an outcome on chain itself, the results are announced and the rewards get distributed to folks in whatever ratio they had voted. So that's how it works as of today. We're trying to make it much more efficient and compliant as well. So we are looking at routes where people would deposit INR, like Indian currency, and the entire voting would happen in INR, and the settlement would also happen in INR, but only a receipt of that would go on chain, and the matching would also happen on chain based on that receipt. So there is no need for actual INR to go on chain, but just adding a lot more transparency. Now, the reason for that right now is purely legal, because a customer would otherwise get unnecessary exposure to crypto tokens, which would then probably cause an issue from a government standpoint. So we are just playing it out very cool right now. We know that the governments are going to become pro crypto at some point or the other, but right now we're just playing it cool in these manners.
So more of the tech is being used for blockchain and
exactly.
So I think IPFS also plays a major role, right?
So we are looking at integrating IPFS in a way where if you look at like several hundred polls that have been placed on the platform so far, now you would definitely want to keep that up for public scrutiny. And the public could any day, like 10 years down the line, also the public could go and say, hey, you acted fraudulently. And just from our standpoint, that we know we cannot do that practically. Hence, we're putting all of the receipts also on IPFS, such that it just stays up for public scrutiny at all points in history. So that's the reason we still not integrated it yet, but we're doing that as we speak.
Okay. And with all these polls and all, so there's the good side, that's bad side. So how it is transparency works first thing, and then who is I'll say who is accountable for this?
Correct. So there are three things when we talk about a poll, right? One is what's the definition of the poll. 2 is what's the source of the truth of the poll. And then 3 is the order matching setup. Now, order matching happens on chain, so it's completely transparent. It's all cool from our standpoint. Now, the source of the truth is something which is critical in this business. Now, you look at all prediction market. Practically, this should be oracle, a on-chain oracle that says that this is true, and just because the oracle says it's true, we accept it as true. Today, unfortunately, oracles haven't evolved enough to make sure that all of these events have a source of truth on chain. So we have to rely on Web2 platforms for source of truth. So we've selected very, very standard sources of truth. For example, if it's sports, then we select ICC or a source like Cricinfo, CricBuzz as the source of truth. So whatever is the match outcome as displayed on CricBuzz will be considered as source of truth. When it comes to polls in the politics domain, we clearly mark sources saying, someone like a news agency, like India Today says this party won, we consider that party as one, and so on and so forth. So sources of truth are very critical. And now the most the part that we are still doing it in now, which is creation of the polls. So creation of the polls happens with a strict regulatory guideline that we have placed for ourselves. And the reason, there is no clear definition from a government standpoint that these are the polls that can go live on your platform and these are the ones that cannot go live on the platform. But we've extensively worked with all the lawyers that have knowledge in this industry. We work with lawyers of Probo, who are the Web2 alternatives. We've talked with the teams of TradeX and realized that, these are the things that are skill-based, like 100% skill-based. And there are a few things that are chance-based, and the chance-based things we never allow on the platform. So that's something that is there in our DNA, and we act as a self-regulatory body. So instead, we know that, tomorrow this is going to create a problem in the regulatory standpoint. So it's better that we act cleanly right from the very, very beginning of the platform. So that's we act as clean as possible. We, in fact, at times act as a government for ourselves. Like we set together a constitution for ourselves and we abide by that constitution.
So basically the guidelines and everything has been
so in fact, yes. So if you just go to our website, Griffy.app, there's a white paper that is put up there. In the white paper, you have a clear definition of what are things that can go live on the platform and what are things that can never go live.
That's interesting. So that's a good thing that in the decentralized thing, there are already points been mentioned, like what can be used and what can be not. So that's a good thing. Like when it comes tomorrow from a government perspective on regulations, then you have the guidelines and everything mentioned. So that's
right. So if you look at the history of prediction markets, right, most prediction markets actually died / didn't do very well because of two reasons. One is liquidity, and the other is essentially the lack of strong regulatory, strong focus on being compliant. I think we've solved both to a certain degree. We practically don't need a lot of liquidity because we are order matching, we are order book, as you rightly said. And then the second thing is that we've ourselves, taken the rod and hit us with that rod thing that you have to be compliant at all points. It's very easy for a crypto guy to say, oh, screw regulations, we're not going to look at regulations ever. But I think it's important to understand the government standpoint. Governments are generally not bad, right? All the governments care about is safety of their citizens, and we have to respect that. So we've made sure that in our DNA we have all the things that a lawyer would have. So I joke about this a lot with even our existing advisors that I am half lawyer myself.
So that's a good thing. So yeah, of course, regulation matters. So when it's a long-term game, regulation matters. Well, like for example, the new user who doesn't have any information or like basic skills about it. So is there anything that he can learn from and he can start his journey?
Right. So we haven't started this just yet. But we are looking at, doing a lot of training programs. So we will have YouTube videos that come out which tell people, oh, this is how you take profit, this is how you have stop losses, this is how the price movement happens, etc. So that is something that we do. But at the same time, what we have on the platform right now is statistics around each event. So for example, if you're talking about sports match between India and let's say Australia, we put out proper statistics saying that, India last 5 times when India met Australia, these were the outcomes of these matches. And statistically, Virat Kohli is very good against fast bowlers, and Australian team has 4 fast bowlers, and so on and so forth. So these all statistics are there in place, which help people make better decisions, which help people strategize and then do the trading. So these are things that we've already kept in place, but we still need to do a lot more. Of course, we want to do a series of YouTube videos where we teach people this is how it works and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and that will help out to gain more users, more user engagement. So that would be better.
So the long-term goal, Welcome, is to create a NASDAQ, right? So when you create a NASDAQ, you want to make sure that everything that these guys have done, we do it for ourselves. Like we train the people, we teach them, we tell them this is how, these are the trading strategies, etc. So everything, we'll have series of blogs that we post and so on and so forth. We're just getting started. I mean, there are like several hundred things that I want to do. But yeah, I think things take time.
Yeah. But with this thing, with all this info, what you're giving, I just wanted to recollect how you started. Like, what was the pain point where you thought like this would be something that should be started or something?
Right. So the larger problem is, I see a lot of people in my family who wanted to multiply money in the COVID, because at COVID you had practically no work to do. And
Correct.
all that people did was, try to learn stock markets. And stock markets is not meant for everyone, right? It's meant for a select group of people. If you look at the statistics of the stock market, it's that like probably 90%, I don't know the exact number, but probably 90% people actually lose money. So there has to be the exit liquidity for other folks. So I thought, why does one have to learn a new skill? Why can't someone who's like, for example, someone who's a weather forecaster should be able to trade in weather, right? Should be able to trade on weather outcomes, etc. So that was the vision in mind. And then there was another problem, right? Which was that you can look at this setup as an insurance. Now this is a very weird stand that I take. But today, if let's say I am the event organizer of a Taylor Swift concert, right, and I've poured in millions of dollars in organizing that concert, what's the biggest risk for me? The biggest risk for me is practically heavy rain or an earthquake or a cyclone or some natural calamity,
Correct.
because of which there will never be a turnout, or maybe something like a Bharat Bandh that is announced for some political reason, right? So these are events, these are outcomes that are not in my hand, and there are very limited folks that can give me a insurance on these particular things, right? So what we say is a simple pitch that why don't, if your event is going to generate you, let's say $1 million in revenue, why don't you put a small portion of that on Griffy on the opposite side? So you say that this is going to happen, like there is a cyclone that is going to happen.
Correct.
And you put a very small, because the odds of that will be significantly, like it would be very, very high odds. The returns on that would be very high. So you hedge yourself with this thing. And we searched and there was really no outcome for it. Like there was really no alternative to what we are doing. And we thought, let's do this. One scenario I remember where I had to take a flight, and if the flight got delayed, I would miss out on a meeting with a potential big client, right? Now, the flight would of course reimburse you for the flight ticket and maybe your hotel stay, etc. if it gets delayed a bit too much. But my damage is significantly higher because I missed out on that meeting. So can I actually gain more from it by putting a small portion of it on a platform like ours? We thought, yeah, why not? People will do it. So the end goal for us is, if you want to, if you're sitting in the train and you want to, make sure that you minimize on your losses if in case, like for example, very simple example, let's say I have pre-booked Ola at the time of my arrival and my flight gets delayed, the Ola guy is going to charge me for sure.
Correct.
So in that case, sitting in the train or sitting in the flight, wherever, I take a poll and then I put some small amount on it on the opposite end and compensate for my losses. So we essentially, again, we want to become a platform which is a universal insurance of sorts. And of course, open in all trading platforms is how we like to call it.
Interesting. So right now, you guys are managing the opinions and the polls basically. So, for example, are you planning for it? Like a user can add on his
Yes.
own poll.
So we definitely want to do that. We want to allow users to come and create their own polls for sure. However, the reason why we haven't done it yet is purely that, we still need to flesh out our legal framework that we are preparing, because we don't want users to come and put, some nonsensical code.
Yeah.
So that's something that we're trying to avoid. And as soon as we have a strict legal framework in place, we will allow users to come and create the polls. I'm not sure on the timelines for this, but sooner than you think.
Yeah. So how are the regulations when it comes to India or global? Are you facing something or like there are
The simple rule of thumb is, if it involves chance, you should not do it. If it has skill elements to it, only then should you put out the poll. So something like, you can never do a poll on who will win the toss in a cricket match, because there is no skill involved. It's a 50-50 outcome. But if you look at something like, do you think the prices of gold are going to increase in financial year 2024? Then it involves a lot of skills, because now you have to study global regulations. You have to study if there is a war scenario, because traditionally we know that in war scenarios, gold prices shoot up. At the same time, you need to research about folks who are trying to create artificial gold in labs, right? If they succeed someday, then gold prices are definitely going to come down, right? You have to study all of these things and then take a decision on whether this outcome will be yes or a no. So for that, you need to prepare. So anything that involves skill is allowed. Anything that is chance based is not allowed. As simple as that.
So what's your next plan for 1 million users to be on board? How's it? How is
So I think in 2021 or 20, I don't exactly remember the date, but I think I did this tweet. Of course, that tweet got very limited views, but the tweet was that the next big Web3 product will not need the Web3 branding. It will just be usable. Like, people should use my product not because we're Web3, not because we're promising you a drop. It should just be so usable that people want to come and people get hooked onto the platform. They come on every day and so on and so forth. So the goal here is to create an app which is as seamless, as close to Web2 as it gets. We already have everything in place, right? My background from Web3, of course, helps with economy, which allows gasless transactions, etc. We already create smart accounts in the backend. And all of this is abstract from the user. So from an end user standpoint, the user thinks that he's interacting with the Web2 application, whereas the backend would be Web3. I think
it's
once we reach to that point, that's the end goal of Web3. That user don't need to know what's Web3, what's Web2. But today, like, users are least bothered about what it should just be usable.
as a they don't bother whether it is a Web2 or Web3.
Exactly. So that's how we're looking at things, and we're trying to make it as seamless for. In fact, most of my users today come from tier 2 and tier 3 India, which is testimony to the fact that we've built a seamless application.
Yeah, and I think Bioeconomy had tweeted about you guys also that there's a seamless onboarding going on from Web2 to Web3 users, and they
Right.
know about it, like how it is. So that's
So my thing was, in fact, I wanted to start Griffy in 2022 itself, right? In fact, not even in 22, in 21 itself. But, at that time, Web3 was also being built nicely, and Bioeconomy was also being built nicely. Now that these two giants are there, we're just standing on top of giants. So it makes my work very easy that we have these Goliaths who've done the groundwork to allow me to create a seamless application.
So I think, yeah, that was great to know about Griffy and what you are building about, how you're changing the opinion market, basically. So any closing thoughts from your side?
Yeah, I guess I would urge everyone to give Griffy a shot. we're very open to feedback in general. I mean, we have a Telegram group where people come and give us feedback, and we try and incorporate the feedback as quickly as possible. Very lean team as such. We're also looking to hire folks for front end and for smart contract. So, anyone who's watching, who's interested in these things, can come out and reach out to us, and we will make something work out. Yeah.
Perfect. Great to know about you, buddy. Have a nice day.
Thanks a lot. Welcome. Bye bye.